Praise the Lord. Thank you for joining through this Zoom meeting. Today we are going to see about Genesis chapter 15. Please open the Bible. I'll share my screen so you can also understand it. So today we are going to see Genesis chapter 16. Don't take shortcuts. That is our message today. In our life also, we should not take shortcuts. If we if you try to choose the shortcuts, we'll face so much of problem. So that was a problem who was going to be faced by Abraham family. So we are going to see what shortcut that Abraham took and what are the problems they face it in Genesis chapter 16. So today's topic is what are the problems faced when you take shortcuts, Genesis chapter 16. Let me go to that directly. So far we have seen that is the life of Abraham. What we saw is that his journey from Ur to the promised land. And in the promised land, there was some falling and success. And then Abraham met Melchizedek, who is a type of Jesus Christ. And the Lord made covenant with Abraham. That was the previous class we saw. And next now, today we are going to see what are the problems faced when you take shortcuts. In Genesis chapter 16, what are the problems faced is a human chaos. Chaos means problems. All these things we call as a chaos, isn't it? So we saw human confusion, problems, all we call it as a chaos. That's so when you take the shortcut, the first problem we face is a human confusion, human chaos. That is there in Genesis chapter 16, 1 to 6 verse. In spite of all these things, God is going to intervene. That is we call it a divine intervention. The intervention means God will come, take in control of all the problems in our life, and he himself give the solution. So that is what is happening in Abraham's life, that we see in Genesis chapter 16, 7 to 16. 7 to 16. So today we are going to see Genesis chapter 16. Number of verses we are going to see is until 16 verses. So in the 16 verses we are divided into two parts. First one is the human chaos, human confusion. Second one is a human intervention. So that's what we are going to see today. Let us go to the portion. Please open it. First is about the human chaos, isn't it? There are the let me see about the problem here the Abraham family is facing is that now the Abraham is here is about 85 years old, and Sarah is like 75 years old. So they are very old, and still they don't have children. God has already promised in the previous chapter that Abraham is going to have a child as a son, because Abraham told to God that he himself had a adopted son Eliezer. But God told clearly that Abram, you are going to give birth a son. So that's what happened in the previous class, the chapter 15, and God made a covenant with Abraham also. But now the time is running. Now so far, the 10 years has run. So Abraham and Sarah came to promised land. Now it has past 10 years is over. So the 10 years is over, still they don't have son. So in those days, what are the two ways in which childlessness can be met with their needs? So the couple has no child. What are the ways they can face this problem? There are two ways they can face this problem. First one is by adoption. Abraham already adopted Eliezer. The second way is the wife to present one of her slave girls to her husband. Not nowadays. In those days, there is slave is very clear, very common in their families. So when a girl got married to a man, the girl family provide the slaves for that girl to take care of all houseworks. So in those days, that was a practice, not nowadays. In those days, of the days of Abraham. So when Sarah got married to Abraham, maybe Sarah's parents gave a slave to Sarah, or maybe Abraham and Sarah went to Egypt once. There was a great famine. So Abraham and Sarah went to Egypt, isn't it? At that time also, um, 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 so at that time also, Abraham may have received a slave from the king Pharaoh. We don't know that, but Sarah is a slave girl. That she is not an Israelite, or she is an Egyptian slave girl. So another situation is that wife to present one of her slave girls to her husband to bear a son for the marriage. The rights of inheritance was uncertain until he was legally adopted. So these are the two conditions for the childless couples. One is by adoption. Already Abraham adopted the servant's son Eliezer, and second thing is wife has to present one of her slave girls to her husband. So as a wife, so she can bear a son. So that son can be the son of the not the mother, son of the wife of the person who is childless. So that is going to happen now. So two solutions are given in front of us. Already one solution was taken by them. The next solution is that Sarah has to give her one of her slave girl to Abraham. So let us see what is going to happen now. So since because that there is going to be human chaos that we are going to see in Genesis chapter 6. Let me take that Sarah provides Hagar. So second solution, the wife has to give one of the slave girl to her husband. So the wife is Sarai, husband is Abraham, and Sarah is going to give Hagar. Hagar was an Egyptian slave girl. Hagar was an Egyptian slave girl to Sarai. So Sarai decided to give Hagar to her husband. That is there in Genesis chapter 16, 1 to 4. Let me read that. Now Sarai, Abraham's wife, has born him no children. So no children for them. So she had an Egyptian slave named Hagar. So took the solution, the second solution, because first solution was already fulfilled because they already adopted a son called Eliezer. Now the second solution is giving her slave girl to Abraham. The name of the slave girl was Hagar, and she was an Egyptian girl. So she said to Abraham, the Lord has kept me from having children. Now Sarah is telling that only because of Lord, because in those days also now people still believe and also believing the children are from inheritance from God. Only God has to provide the child. So now Sarah is telling the 10 years have passed. We have come and settled in Cana. 10 years have passed. Even though God told to you that you bore a son, but God didn't tell me clear, but because of me, you will have a son. So maybe because of my slave girl also you can have the son. So they themselves coming to the conclusion because the promise was not clear to Sarah. So she thought that Abraham will have a son, but not through her, maybe through some other lady. So Sarah thought, the Lord has kept me from having children, so go sleep with my slave. Perhaps I can build a family through her. Abraham agreed to what Sarah said. Immediately Abraham agreed. Abraham might have said to her, Sarah, please wait. God has already promised. So don't do these things. This is the responsibility of a head of the family. Abraham was head of the family. In those days, the head of the family has to take the decision. Even though a wife give the solution, give the plan to do, only the head of the family has to take the decision. But here Abraham immediately take the solution given by Sarah. He didn't oppose anything. He didn't give any advice to Sarah. Immediately Abraham took that advice. So Abraham's wife took Hagar, the Egyptian servant, and gave her to Abraham as a wife. This happened 10 years Abraham has settled in the land of Canaan. So Abraham had so what happened? Hagar became pregnant after Abraham took Hagar as his wife. And what happened? Hagar became pregnant, but when Hagar knew she was pregnant, she began to treat her mistress Sarai with contempt. So what is problem happening is here is that Sarai want to get the solution of giving her slave to Abraham. She thought that all problems will be solved. But after Hagar got pregnant, another problem started. The problem is that Hagar started to mistreat or show contempt, show no respect to her mistress because Hagar was a slave. She should be as a slave and to obey all her mistress says. Her mistress is Sarai. Now Hagar is not obeying Sarai, and not only she is ridiculing and showing all mistreating action towards Sarah. Sarah got very angry. I thought my problem will be a solution. Now this girl is behaving so bad. Maybe she took she may send me out also. I don't know. My life is going to be completely full of problem. So she want to take this as a great disaster to her. So what happened now? Let us see. The Sarah saw herself as a failure now. Again, completely she's seeing herself failure because aging Sarah now give way to fear. That is the fear is that she had been in Canaan for 10 years and was 75 years old. Her barrenness was a tragedy in Asian culture because a mark of success in many children and a sad failure to none. They think many children, it's a great success. No children, it's a great failure. She knew that God has promised Abraham had a son coming from his own body would be as her. Already God promised, but she has not revealed to her that she would be the mother. So she was in great failure, and she thought that she can give the maid servant, maid slave to Abraham. So this happened, but what already happened is that she became Hagar became pregnant, and she became contempt to her mistress Sarai. Sarai got very angry. But in spite of all these things, can you see here that the slave began to despise Sarah. Then Sarah said to Abraham, so Sarah get very, very angry because that Hagar is so showing contempt and disrespect to her. So she got very angry. The problem started by her, but she has to be angry with herself, but she's getting angry with her husband Abraham. So she went to Abraham and said, Sarah said to Abraham, you are responsible for wrong. I am suffering. I put my slave in your arms, and now that she knew she's pregnant, she's despising me. May the Lord judge between you and me. Again, now she's fighting. So there's a problem with Sarai, but she's not accepting the problem is because of her. She's taking she's telling the blame on her husband Abraham. Can you see here why she's doing like this? Because in those days the responsibility fall mainly on the head of the family. The head of the family is Abraham. She might have telling that even unknowingly I did like this. Why can't you give me the advice not to do that? I did a wrong thing. You also accept that. So because of you, I'm suffering. So she's putting the blame on Abraham. Now, what Abraham did, but this time also at least Abraham's to take the responsibility, isn't it? He might have told his wife Sarah, be quiet, and then he might have went and told the Hagar, don't despise him, be obedient. You are just a slave. I'm not going to take you as my real wife. My real life is only Sarah. You are just as a to give birth the child. Like that advice Abraham has to give because he is the head of the family. But here also, Abraham didn't take any responsibility of the situation. Immediately he's telling, your slave is in your hand. Again, immediately telling, I don't care. She's your slave. You take care of it. She's in your hand. Abraham said, do with her whatever you think best. He's saying, you think which is best for you, do with her. I don't care about it. Then Sarai mistreated Hagar, so she felt her. So she fled from her. So what now what Sarah is doing? Now Sarah is going to treat her very badly. In what way she treated badly, that is not written. Maybe she scolded her, give her some more work to do, never give any respect, didn't give any rest. All these things are there. So she became very bad. Sarah became very, very bad. She started to treat her very cruelly. And Abraham also not taking any responsibility. This girl, Hagar, became pregnant and she became very, very sad. Can you see here? They are treating the Hagar as an instrument, as a tool. They are not considering her as a human being. They didn't ask him whether you want to marry Abraham. Nothing was asked him. So she was just a tool. Now they are also misusing as a tool and they are abusing her. Now she was very, very sad. So she fled from Sarai. Abraham was worst. Why? Because uncaring for both women. She didn't care for even Sarai. He didn't care for even Abraham, Hagar. So Abraham was very worst, and Sarai was also very worst because she mistreated Hagar. Can you see here? Because they want to take a shortcut. The family is full of chaos now, full of confusion, full of problem, full of hatred, full of jealous. This will happen in our life also. When we're not going to do the God's plan, when we want to take a shortcut, this will happen surely in our life also, full of family problems, fighting, cruelty, hurting others, jealousy, and we don't know what to do also because we took the wrong decision and people are fighting. There is no love, only cruelty. There is no compassion. There is no respect. Nothing. Everything is lost. This was not the intention that God has made the family. God made the family so they can be very happy. And all these things are the God's intention, but God's intention was totally removed from this family because they took themselves a shortcut, and because of that, that there was a great problem. Abraham and Sarah didn't believe God's word. They have disbelief. They didn't trust God's word. There was a great problem. So this was a situation. Now, even though she was pregnant, even though Hagar has a son of Abraham, she fled from them. So no use for them here, isn't it? The problem is that Sarai want to take the child as her child, but that is not going to happen because the lady ran away from the home. Now let us see why all this chaos happened. Why all this happened? Two reasons. Abraham and Sarah took the condition, and they decided that God needed help in fulfilling His word. So what they are deciding is, no, God needs some help to fulfill His word. So what is the help I'm going to give my slave to Abraham? They distressed God's word and took a shortcut to obtain what they knew God has promised. They took a shortcut and they think that God need help to fulfill His word. And next, they took the shortcut. They thought that God need the help to fulfill his word. So they took the shortcut and they knew that God will certainly fulfill the promise, that they took the shortcut, that was a wrong thing what happened. So what has happened? The divine intervention is going to happen. That's the promise of son. Now, the intervention has to be taken by Abraham. Abraham didn't took the responsibility, so God is going to take the responsibility. God is going to take the intervention, and He's going to promise a son to whom? To Hagar. Now, can you see here, Abraham 16, 7 to 16. So, divine intervention, promise of a son. The status of Hagar. We are going to first see what was the status of Hagar before the intervention of God, after the intervention of God. Then, what is the destiny of Hagar's son? Because God is going to promise the son to Hagar. So, what is the destiny of Hagar's son? And then, name of the Lord. Son, after Hagar came to know that the angel of the Lord came and talked to him, then he named the Lord, that is El-Roi, because she herself had a great intervention with the Lord. Then next is the birth of Ishmael. Then we are going to see the name of the child was Ishmael. That was a child born to Hagar and Abram. And before that, Hagar met the Lord as an angel of the Lord, and he gave the name of the Lord as El-Roi. And God also revealed what was the future of the Hagar son Ishmael. And we are going to see what was the status of Hagar before meeting the angel of the God and after meeting the angel of the Lord. Let me go to Genesis chapter 16, 7 to 8. The status of the Hagar. Can you see here? Genesis chapter, Hagar as the bell. Now, Hagar is running away from the Sarai, and she is moving towards the Egypt. Because she's an Egyptian slave, she has nobody in this family in the land of Canaan. She's going to her home country. So when she was traveling, she's traveled a long distance. She traveled a long distance. So the angel of the Lord found Hagar near a spring in the desert. Now she's in the desert. It was a spring that is beside the road of Shur. The Shur was a city near the Egypt. She's already going to enter the Egypt. It's a lost place, a lost destiny, lost point. After that, she's going to enter the Egypt. At that place, the angel of the Lord met her near the spring. In the desert, there is one spring. Near the spring, Lord met her at the place called Road to Shur. Poor, abused, pregnant Hagar fled a great distance from the Sarai abuse. The location of Shur was near the border of Egypt. Hagar, being an Egyptian slave, was going home to her people. She was almost there in the Egypt. Now, near the spring, Hagar was surprised by a stranger. The angel of the Lord came. So, the angel of the Lord came in the form of a man. So, it seems to be a stranger to Hagar. So, she was astonished to see a stranger. That is the angel of the Lord. Now, the whole episode is under the control of Lord. Even though everything is going beyond the control of Hagar, Sarai, and Abram, now everything is under the control of Lord. That is in Genesis chapter 16, 8 to 9. And he said, and the angel of the Lord said, Hagar, slave of Sarai. Can you see here? The angel of the Lord is calling Hagar as a slave of Sarai. That was the status. What was the status of Sarai? The status of Sarai was a slave of, what was the status of Hagar? Hagar status was slave of Sarai. Where have you come from? Where are you going? Can you see here? Two questions are asked to Sarai. to Hagar, isn't it? Two questions were asked to Hagar. It means it shows that the angel of the Lord didn't know anything about her. But actually, angel of the Lord know everything about her. That's why God has sent the angel of the Lord to intervene in this situation. In spite of that, and the two questions were asked to her: where have you come from? Where are you going? So the thing is, you are in between from where you are coming and where you are going. So now the answer is given by I'm running away from Mistress Sarai. So it is very clear. The first question is slave of Sarai. So where have you coming from? I was a slave of Sarai. I was staying in Hebron. And now from there I'm running towards away from her because she was very bad to me. I'm running away from Mistress Sarai, she answered. Then the angel of the Lord told her, go back to your mistress, submit to her. Can you see here? This command is very, very tough. Already Sarai was very angry and treating her very badly. Now the angel of the Lord is telling, didn't tell, don't worry, you stay here, the spring is here, drink the water, I will provide you food, I will take care of you. Didn't God didn't say like that. Otherwise, go to your parent home, that is Egypt. There you go, I'll take care of you. Nothing was said like God is telling again, go back to Sarai, submit to her. Why like this? Why God is telling like this? Because return to the oppressive life that a slave must endure. The slave is go to the mistress. And the motivation of her return is a great future for her son. So the motivation is that only when she go and gave birth to the son in the Abraham house, then only the son is going to get the blessing of Abraham. If she give birth to the son in the Egypt, that child is not going to get any blessing of Abraham. The blessing of Abraham is what? Those who bless you, you are going to be blessed. Those who curse you are going to be cursed. And the land where Abraham is going to be the descendant of Abraham, isn't it? So she's going to give birth a son to Abraham. Unless otherwise the son is going to born in Abraham house, those blessings, the son never get it. So what is the main thing is, the problem is, this happened. Main problem is happened is that Sarai gave you to Abraham, but you got pregnant. It's from God. But you should be very submissive to the mistress. But what you did, you became ridiculing her. You are not giving respect to her mistress. So only she got angry. What did is wrong only. But already what you did is also wrong. So you go back to your mistress, stay there because you are going to give birth a son. The son has to be blessed means you have to go back there. Hagar offers no resistance now. Yes, okay. She's a lady of faith and obedient. So immediately she went back to Sarai and she became obedient to her. She stayed there. We don't know whether Sarai oppressed her. Nothing was revealed, but she went back. And maybe what happened, let us see that. So destiny of Hagar's son. Now let us see Hagar, Genesis chapter 16, 10 to 12. The angel added, I will increase your descendants so much that they will be too numerous to count. Now God is telling, you are going to give birth one son. Through that son, I'm going to increase your descendant. It is going to be numerous. So this for promise was first of all given to Abraham. Now God didn't talk still now to Sarai, but God is talking now to Hagar. Now telling, I'm going to increase your descendant. So Hagar is the first woman to receive a birth announcement, and she was the first woman to receive promise from the Lord. So far, God is talking to the men. God talked to Abraham. And so far, God has talked to Abraham. Before that, God talked to Moses. Abraham only God was talking clearly. Now, afterwards, God talked to Moses. So many people, afterwards, God is going to talk to Elijah. So many men he's going to talk. First woman God talked to is Hagar. So Hagar is the first woman to receive a birth announcement and the first woman to receive promise from the Lord. By remaining submissive to Abraham's household, she and her son will someday enjoy the benefits of Abraham's blessing. So her only thing is she has to go and submissive to the Abraham and Sarai. So the blessing was given. God came and talked with Sarai and Hagar. Hagar was first woman to receive the birth announcement. She was the first woman. So the next is the son's name is Ishmael. Genesis chapter 16, verse 11. The angel of the Lord also said to her, you are now pregnant and you give birth to a son. You shall name him Ishmael, for the Lord has heard of your misery. The Lord has heard of her misery, and everything God is revealing because she's in great mysterious condition, and nobody is caring about her. Nobody is there for her. No husband, no mistress, and she don't know whether she go to Egypt, nobody will take care of her. She was already a slave. So her condition was so bad, but God never leave the people like that. So God revealed everything about her son also, and God gave the name of the son also as a Ishmael. So the angel of the Lord said to her, you are now pregnant. Already she knows she was a pregnant. So that was a problem happened there. And you will give birth not a daughter to a son. You shall name him Ishmael, for the Lord has heard of your misery. So the new information given to her is that she is carrying a male child, and the child is to be named Ishmael. Ishmael means God has heard. So what is the name of Ishmael? Meaning of Ishmael is God has heard. So what is the, and not only that, God is revealing further the future of Ishmael. That is there in Genesis chapter 16:12. The Ishmael will be a wild donkey of a man. His hand will be against everyone, and everyone's hand against him, and he will live in hostility towards all his brothers. Can you see this? This is a very hard one to understand. First is his lifestyle, and then his independence, his violence. This boy is going to be a violent boy. This boy is going to be independent boy. His lifestyle is that nomadic lifestyle. He is going to live in the desert. So your son, Ismail, which means God has heard, but he is going to live a lifestyle of a nomadic lifestyle. That means he is going to not going to stay in one place. He is going to wander from one place to another, and he is going to live in the wasteland like desert, and he is so independent. That means his fist is against everyone, and everyone will be against him. He is not going to be having a cooperation life with others. Always he trying to be independent. He never care about others. So every time he is going to be against others, others are all going to be against him. And moreover, he is violent. Why? He's hostile towards brothers. That means what? Even the brothers also, he is not going to show his compassion or love. He's a violent man, like a Cain. So this is like a Cain. So Cain is a man who killed his brother Abel, isn't it? So this is like a happening to the Cain. So this was this was a future of the son Ismail. His lifestyle, his independence, his violent, his hostile towards his brother. But even though all these things, Ismail means God has here. Now all these things happen. Now given God here the agony, see the agony of the Hagar. Now Hagar is telling the God who sees and naming the God as El-Roi. Yeah, Genesis chapter 16, 13 to 4. Therefore, Hagar used another name to refer to the Lord. Now she came to know the Lord is only coming and intervening all these things for him. So he want to give another name to the Lord. So who had spoken to her? She said, you are the Lord who sees me. She also said, yeah, have I truly seen the one who sees me? So one who sees me is El-Roi. In Hebrew language, the one who sees me means El-Roi. So she named the Lord as a El-Roi. So what El-Roi means? El-Roi means the God who sees my misery, the God who sees my problems, the God who sees when I am traveling through the desert, the God who sees my bad condition, and God who sees how Sarah mistreated me, the God who sees how I'm just an instrument in the hand of Abraham and Sarai. All these people misused me, disrespected me, but God sees all my miseries. So I call the God as a God who sees, which means El-Roi. So that the well was named Berlai-Roi. And not only that, the name of the well is now what? Berlai-Roi, which means the well of living one who sees me. There's a spring nearby, no? So that is the name of the spring or the river or the well is the living one who sees me. The well of the living one who sees me. The well of the living one who sees me. So it was between the Kadesh and Bared. So now the name of the Lord was given, the name of the well was given, the name of the son was given, the future of the son was revealed. Now the divine command is go back to your mistress, be submissive to her. That is a command. Hagar has to obey. Hagar obeyed? Yes. Hagar acknowledged the Lord who sees, acknowledged. Hagar learned that Lord has both hears and sees her sorrow. To memorize the event, Hagar acknowledged the Lord by giving the name, you are El-Roi. Now she memorized God's name, that is El-Roi, which means God who sees me. Hagar marveled at the grace of the one who took pity on her, although she was a person of low standing, because those days slaves are like instrument. They never people treat them as a human being, but God is seeing him as a human being and coming and intervening to her. The site became known as a Belrai Rohi, which means the well of living one who sees me. Now also we call the well as a Belrai Rohi, the well of living one who sees me. Now the birth of the at last, she went back to Sarai. She was submissive, and maybe she went and told Abram what happened, and she might have told that she met the angel of the Lord, and the angel of the Lord revealed the name of the son who is going to born. That name will be Ishmael, and the future also. Everything was revealed to me. So I came back. I want to be a submissive in your condition. So she was submissive. That she gave birth a son. And what happened? So Hagar gave Abraham a son. Now, can you see here? Hagar gave Abraham a son, but Sarah is not at all worrying now. She was very fed up with her. Now, nothing is revealed about Sarai. Only Hagar gave Abraham a son, and Abraham named him Ishmael. That means what? Abraham accepted what and believed what Hagar told, and now only taking the responsibility that now only understood that since I didn't take responsibility, God Himself sent the angel to intervene her. Hereafter, I have to take the responsibility. So I am going to name the son as Ishmael, as God revealed. Abraham was 86 years old when Ishmael was born. So what was the age of Abraham? It was 86 years old when Ishmael was born. That was revealed here. So Ishmael was Abraham's son. Ishmael was born in Abraham's house, and named him Abraham himself indicate that he is the fully considered as Abraham's son. He is Abraham's son because Abraham only named him. Sarai does not name the child Hagar back to Sarai didn't care about it. Sarai didn't name her. That means Sarai's original intention will not be realized. Sarai told, but what Hagar is going to give birth to the child, that child is going to be my child. That was the original plan of Sarai. But this didn't happen now because only Abraham named her, only is a responsibility. Hagar has no real intention, has not realized. Now hereafter she started upon God, that God will certainly give me a child. This child is not my child. I'm not going to consider this boy as my son. God will certainly give me the son. So she started to wait upon Lord. So this is what has happened. Now, points to remember. Warning. What is a warning? Is that Genesis chapter 16 indicate of Abraham and two women, Sarah and Hagar. So it shows as falling faith and distrust. So if you are falling from your faith and distrust, if you allow that, there's going to be a great chaos and confusion. The result was multiplication of rejection, anger, hurt, jealousy, and cruelty. So be very careful. Don't be unbelief or disrespectful to the word of God. If you do like that, what will happen? Anger, hurt, jealousy, cruelty, and rejection, all things will happen. And why all these things happen? Because they think they want to help God to fulfill His word. So they took the shortcut to obtain what they knew God has promised. They thought that they are helping God to fulfill His word, His promise. So they took this shortcut to obtain what God has promised. This was the real reason for this confusion. And what was Sarah's action parallel to? Sarah's action was parallel to Eve. Eve, Adam and Eve. So Sarai behaved just like Eve. How Adam, when Sarai told, take my slave girl Hagar as your wife, isn't it? That was the proposal given by Sarai to Abram. What Abraham did? Abraham listened to his wife just as Adam listened to Eve. Eve took the fruit of knowing good and evil and gave it to Abraham. Abraham gave it to Adam. Adam didn't resist. Immediately he took the fruit and ate. So the same thing Abraham also did. Abraham listened to his wife just as Adam listened to Eve. Here Sarai took Hagar just as Eve took the fruit. Okay, immediately, just like an instrument as a fruit, Sarai took Hagar and gave it to Abraham, just as Sarai took Hagar, just as Eve took the fruit. Here Sarai gave Hagar to her husband, just as Eve gave the fruit to her Adam. That is the fall. That is what disobedience happened in the family. That is a problem happened in the family. So Hagar, Sarai just act the same in the way as Eve. So this was the problem of in the family. So let us come to the conclusion. 1 Corinthians chapter 10, 12 to 30 is a memory verse. If you think you are standing firm, be careful that you don't fall. Always be careful. Don't think that you are very standing strong in the God. Any problem can come against you. Any other situation, trust God, believe the God word. Don't just think that you are a great believer. So if you think you are standing firm, be careful that you don't fall. No temptation has overtaken you except what is common to mankind, and God is faithful. Even the problem come also, but nothing is new is going to happen, because all the things what happening to you is already happened to all people. So, but God is faithful. He will not let you be tempted beyond what you can be bear. Even though that the temptation is very so much for you, God knows how much you can bear, because God is the one who created us. It won't be good beyond the limit. But when you are tempted, He will also provide a way out so that you can endure it. God will certainly provide a way out, so that we can endure. So now this certainly happened in the life of Hagar. Everything went beyond her limit. She was running away from the promised land, Canaan, towards Egypt. At that time, God intervened. God provided escaping way. The escape way is what? She has to go back. She has to be submissive, and she gave birth to a son, and his name is Ishmael, and that son is going to get the blessing of Abraham. So here, God has provided a way for Hagar. Hagar obeyed it, isn't it? That's why our problem in our life was completely solved. In our life also, even there is a temptation happen, God will certainly provide a way to come up and endure it and escaping a way. If you follow that, certainly you can face your problem and come out of it victoriously. So this is a lesson we learned today. Thank you for attending, my children. Thank you.